American way.
Conscious leadership.
It's time, come on. It's time, come on.
Conscious culture.
You can do it, yeah. You can do it. Come on.
Stakeholder orientation. Conscious capitalist. Conscious capitalist. Conscious capitalist.
With force.
Conscious capitalist. Higher purpose.
American way. American way.
Conscious living.
It's time, come on. It's time, come on.
Conscious culture.
You can do it. You can do it.
Stakeholder orientation. Conscious capitalist.
King.
Conscious
With force.
capitalist. Conscious capitalist.
Come on.
Conscious capitalist.
Great Wednesday listening audience. Welcome to the Conscious Capitalist Show. I'm your host, King, and this is a great morning. I don't know how everybody's out there feeling, but you know how I like to start my shows off talking about the moments of gratitude and what I feel grateful for this morning. And this morning, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my ability to see, hear, walk, talk, stand, breathe, and have sound mind. I'm grateful for all the friends and support from loved ones, and I'm grateful for the infinite possibilities that this day may provide. So, with that being said, again, this is a great Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about real estate. As you all know, this is Real Estate Wednesdays. We're going to really get down in depth with what's going on. Again, why each show I talk about on Wednesdays, why now is the best time to buy real estate in Baltimore City, and why we need to be focused on doing that and understanding what's important with that regards. So one of the things I want to begin the show with is really beginning to talk about, as we get into the peak of summer right now, what we need to understand about how to go about looking for properties, how to go about identifying neighborhoods, and how to recognize the signs that change is coming to your community so that you could be aware, and awareness is consciousness. How can you be conscious of the changes that's coming down the road? And just keep in mind that the city and folks who are major players in this game of real estate and development, they think 20 years out. So they already have plans. They've been making plans for the last 20 years on what's going on now. This is not something they had 6 months ago or a year ago. So just keep that in mind as you see the development happening, and particularly on the west side, as you see areas alongside Edmondson Avenue by Hilton, that work that's being done over there, that bridge work, that construction work. Keep in mind, I should say, that that's not for the people who live there currently. That's not for their benefit. It's for the residents they have in mind coming down the road. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go forth. And I also want you to keep in mind that if you miss out on this opportunity, it's really going to be your fault, because I've witnessed and I've been a part of displacement that happened on a grand scale in D.C. I watched it. I watched folks in Washington, D.C. who, when I moved to Washington, D.C. in '88, tell me that neighborhoods that had been historically bad ever since the riots, the '60 riots after MLK was assassinated, that they would never turn around. They were too violent, too much drugs, too many issues. Those neighborhoods would never change. And now those neighborhoods are selling for $750,000 or better. So don't ever think because something that in your lifetime has been that way, it won't change. What you have to understand is the condition and location of your neighborhoods as it relates to where downtown or where development is spreading or where development is beginning happening. It will change. All of Baltimore City won't change in one fell swoop, but there's definitely neighborhoods that are experiencing change. And again, the only thing that slowed it up in the past was the market crash in 2008, because the neighborhoods were beginning to change in 2003, 4, 5. I remember homes in resident shells in resident Reservoir Hill was selling for $500,000, like in 2005 and 6. shells, and then the market crashed and those shells dropped down to about $100,000, but they're picking back up again. So that's what I'm telling folks now. And then the protest or the uprising happened in 2015. Again, that slowed the development happen. So those two key things slowed development in Baltimore City. So now, people have a real sharp memory, and so people's mindset now, as far as developers, they're not thinking about the uprising anymore. They look at Baltimore City as a gold mine, particularly because Baltimore City, and this is what most people here have to wrap their minds around, Baltimore City is sandwiched between the most powerful city in the world, being Washington, D.C., and the financial capital of the world, being New York. And then it's a shipping city, so that's going to spur development that's going to come here to Baltimore City. And then currently it's one of the most inexpensive cities to live in on the East Coast outside of Richmond. And I think Baltimore City has a lot more to offer than Richmond because of its proximity to D.C., New York, and areas like that. So it's coming to Baltimore, and I'm helping to spur that, but I want to make sure that our community also has a part and can play a role in that development. So one of the things I want to do, I'm excited to bring on a guest that I've recently met through one of our Conscious Roundtable members, but we've had several times we've been able to interact and connect, and I've had a chance to kind of pick her real estate brain, and I wanted to invite her on the show so that you all can hear, because some of the things she shared with me, she's a native Baltimorean, and she shared with me some great insight as far as the history of Baltimore City, as far as real estate. And I said that's some of the things I definitely want to be able to have and share with the listeners on our show. So without any further ado, I want to recognize and bring to the Conscious Capitalist Show Ms. Carla.
Hello, how are you?
How you doing? How you feeling this morning?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm doing great. Now, I didn't say your last name, and I apologize.
I'm sorry, Carla Ward.
Carla Ward.
Yes.
So welcome to the Conscious Capitalist Show, Carla Ward.
Thank you for having me.
So one of the things I do want to get started with before we get into the show is, what are you grateful for this morning? And you can share as many things or as few things that you feel.
I don't want to take up the whole time, but I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for waking up. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful. I'm for everything. I don't want to take up everything, but I'm just grateful for my health, my everything. I'm just grateful.
All right. And so before I bring on and we get into our discussion with Carla, I want to share with you all my most dominating thought for today. And like I said, I stress the importance that everyone should have a most dominating thought for the day that really sets your mindset, it sets your attitude, it sets your outlook for the day. And so my most dominating thought for the day is this. Ability is what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. And that's a quote by Lou Holtz. And again, ability is what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. And so with that being said, I have a very positive and winning attitude this morning. And I look forward to bringing that energy and positivity to the show. So, Carla, let's get started. Let's start by sharing with our listening audience what your background is and how long you've been in real estate. And then what part of Baltimore City you're from. How about we started with those key things.
So I'm a licensed real estate agent with Real Estate Executives. I've been in the real estate industry for 11 to 12 years. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So you're originally from Baltimore, correct?
Oh, yes. I'm from Baltimore. I was born and raised in Baltimore. And, I was thinking of when Christopher King was speaking, I was thinking of how today that we are positioned today where we weren't positioned before. I just had a thought. We're more positioned today to invest in Baltimore than we were before. Just being in the real estate industry for a long time, we as a culture, we weren't in a position to invest in our community. And I think today we are in a better, just for more resources, income, everything.
So, what would you say is one of the things that? Well, first let's start by this. What neighborhood were you born in Baltimore
Oh,
City?
I'm from West Baltimore. West Baltimore. I grew up in the Emerson Village area, and then we moved to the Beachfield area, which is between Beachfield and Yale Heights and Catonsville area.
Okay, so are you still currently living in the city?
No, I recently moved to Baltimore County like 10 years ago because of the schools in the city. I had a son and the school systems weren't good, so I moved to the Pikesville area, and I recently moved to Owings Mills.
Okay. Now, what would you say is, how do you feel about Baltimore City from a context? Do you love it? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I love Baltimore City. I love Baltimore City.
Okay, and what's some of the reasons why you love Baltimore City?
The convenience, I'm just more of a city person. The convenience, it's convenient to everything. Actually, the city is beautiful. When I meet people from out of town and they say, "Oh, you're from Baltimore," I'm like, Baltimore is not a bad city. Baltimore is beautiful. Like, they just see what they see on the news or certain areas, but Baltimore City is beautiful.
Yeah, I think Baltimore City is beautiful. I love Baltimore City personally. You know, even though I've only been here and living in the city for about 3 years or so. But, you know, for me, I'm an optimist. I see the potential of Baltimore City can be. And then I'm also a historian, so I have a great understanding of what Baltimore City used to be. So for me, combining that is what helps me focus on building what the Baltimore City will be. And, yeah, I say will be because, you know, we're going to be active about that and make sure that it happens. But one of the reasons I definitely want to have you on the show was really just kind of, you know, get your insight and get your perspective on some of the things, some of the changes that's happening in Baltimore City. And do you see the changes happening here in Baltimore City?
Yes. I see the changes, and I saw the changes. I even saw the changes years ago, but I didn't understand the changes at the time. So I'll speak on, we could think of South Baltimore. When you spoke earlier about the 2007 crash, I saw Washington Village building up. I saw a lot of communities building up, and then it, like you said, it stopped. But I see a lot of change in the cities. I remember South Baltimore. When that changed, I was in high school. That was the late 80s, early 90s, and my grandmother lived in South Baltimore, and I saw that they were building South Baltimore, and which is now Federal Hill. So yes, what other communities, what other areas? Gwynns Falls. I see change all the time because I'm in real estate, and I see the change all the time. Yes.
All right, well,
East Baltimore.
listening audience, we were also joined here by Ellis. How you doing this morning, Ellis?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. So we're here talking with Carla about her being from a Baltimore native and then being in real estate and talking about some of the changes again because, again, we want to point out why now is the best time to buy real estate in Baltimore City. Do you agree with that, Carla?
Yes, this is a great time.
And again, how long have you been in real estate for, Carla? How long have you been in real estate?
It'll be 12 years the end of this year.
12 years?
Yeah, and it wasn't always this good. That's why I say it's a great time now. Real estate wasn't always that good.
Okay. And you do commercial and residential real estate, correct?
Correct.
All right. So what are you seeing in the commercial real estate market? Is that beginning to boom as well, or?
I think it is booming because a lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs where years ago our culture wasn't buying into commercial real estate. Now, and I see a lot of people that's building their own business and working for themselves, and they want commercial real estate, and they're building their business. And I'm stuck. Save me. Yeah. So yeah, I see a lot of people investing into commercial real estate, leasing and purchasing.
Now, I know that, you know, one of the things I like about Baltimore City is that I'm a person that believes that you want to own as much real estate as you possibly can, and from a commercial standpoint, I'm always impressed with the fact that the commercial real estate in Baltimore City is so inexpensive, comparatively speaking to Washington D.C. or other areas I've been to. Now, some folks may be saying, well, that's a reason why, because neighborhoods are such and such, violent or whatever. But for me, I've learned that neighborhoods change, and neighborhoods can change. And when you really want to play in this game of real estate, I'm much more of a person who believes in being a catalyst for change, creating a change, as opposed to buying and hoping someone else creates that change. So I always have a different attitude as relates when I approach buildings. I approach buildings with, I'm going to change this community, I'm going to change this neighborhood. So I'm not necessarily thrown off because of the fact is that it's blighted or there's violence and drug activity happening around it. Because I'm a community activist, as a conscious capitalist, and the network and the resources that I have, that I know we can bring about change. So I said it to set the context that what are some of the I would say, just to start from a range, what are some of the most least expensive properties you've seen on a commercial level that you're seeing here in Baltimore City?
Commercial. I've seen commercial real estates go as low as $40,000. It depends on the community.
Right.
And where it is. And when you say the dynamic has changed in commercial real estate, from my experience, I noticed that there's like an old age and a new age. The old investors are retiring and they're just unloading all of their real estate. And then that what puts the new age people, the new investors, the new entrepreneurs in position to purchase, where 20 years ago we weren't able to purchase. We didn't have the resources to purchase commercial real estate or wanted to. So I've dealt with a lot of old investors that's getting rid of residential and commercial properties, auction it off for low. They want to retire, move to Florida or whatever, and that's why I see a lot of people, new age, this millennium people, purchasing real estate and investing in their business as well to gain their own wealth, because these old age people have gained wealth and they're retiring and moving away now.
Okay.
And I just think this is a good time, like King said earlier. Do we really have 30 more years to wait for it to change again? I think we should do it now, because 30 more years, the opportunity may not be there for us.
Yeah, and I say that because, our community has a propensity for waiting for someone else to be the catalyst. Like, we wait on some other person to kind of buy blocks, buy buildings, and then there's something happening in this neighborhood. Let's follow suit. Where when I'm saying, if you really want to build wealth through real estate, and particularly what we really need to do as a community is really build an economic base, we got to be the catalyst. We got to be willing to walk in these communities, take the risk, be the ones that be the trailblazers, but come in with a plan, come in with a strategy, come in with the support of the community, of course. And that's the only way we as a community are going to benefit from development, as if we do it, and we do it in a conscious mindset, not in a I want to make money mindset, but I want to make change. And through that change, money will come, but people must benefit, not just the developers who are going to benefit. And I tell folks, I'm not mad or I'm not angry at white developers who come into our community, buy up and develop, because we have that opportunity. No one's stopping us now. They did stop us before, with the redlining. They stopped us before with, National Association of Realtors, in cahoots with the banks, in cahoots with the neighborhood, all these covenants that prevented blacks from living and buying in certain neighborhoods. That's part of our history, and that's true. However, we no longer have those issues to prevent us now. We can buy real estate. Nothing is stopping us from collectively pulling our money together and buying real estate. And that's really the only way we're going to be able to turn these neighborhoods around, is through a collective action. And that begins with trust. But I want to bring Ellis in this conversation. So, Ellis, what do you think about what we're discussing today? What are your thoughts on where real estate is right now in Baltimore City? I know you're active in the residential game, so what are your thoughts on why now is the best time to buy real estate?
Kind of piggyback on what she was saying as far as you see a lot of the older generations, the baby boomers, they're ready to retire. I continue to run across them as well that's ready to offload their portfolio, transition out. They're in that retirement age. They're getting tired of being landlords. So I'm seeing a lot of that, and Baltimore is currently building. I heard you speak earlier about the construction, the road, the improvements. So like, when the city or area definitely they start to develop the infrastructure, then you know what's coming. So when I was coming in, riding down Edmondson, by the 7-Eleven coming through there, I'm like, oh man, it's nice and paved. So, they got those main drags coming in. They're doing the same thing on the west side of, certain corridors coming in, North Avenue. So a lot of these main corridors, they're developing the infrastructure. And then once they get that squared away, you see the development with the real estate as well. So right now is definitely a good time, especially in the blighted or distressed areas, because the prices are currently low. And that's when a lot of people jump in the market and start doing the development. So if you can get in when the numbers are low, and just wait for the numbers to get high. And as you continue to build and help the development in the community. And, they say, it's contagious. So, that's why I think it's a pretty good time now to jump in. That's what I'm seeing.
Absolutely. So, Carl, let's talk about a little bit about what are some of the hot spots you see in the city that folks can kind of get into right now?
I was told that was it Westport? Mount Washington. What is it? Mount Winings. Yes, Mount Winings is a good area.
And where's Mount Winings located from?
Located on the other side of Port Covington and Cherry Hill, Westport area. It's the South Baltimore. Yes.
Okay. And that's hot for residential and commercial, or just hot for both?
Both, because right now actually it is a bunch of commercial warehousing area, but it's close to the water again, so it has a lot of residential potential as well.
Okay.
That's hot, and I'm sure everyone knows about East Baltimore, but if you're just starting, you're going to put a couple dollars into East Baltimore because they're already building the Hopkins area. Charles Village, which I believe the comps have went down. I think this is a good time to go back off of the Barclay Greenmount area and go up to like the 20, is that Charles Village? Yeah, Charles Village area. That was low for some investors. Gwynns Falls, West Baltimore have great potential. Great. It's almost like it hasn't been touched. What other areas? That I get a lot of investors want different areas for different reasons, but from my experience, everyone wants to pour into West Baltimore.
And what do you find as your as a realtor working in the commercial area? Are most of the people coming to you black or white, looking to buy commercial real estate?
Black people are, but the white people are more trying to pull out, and the black people are trying to pull in.
Okay, so the whites are the ones selling the commercial real estate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Right.
Now, are you seeing that a lot of blacks are actually coming to you to buy commercial real estate?
Yes, and some of them cannot, but they still want to be a part of the community, so they will lease until they build their business and create the revenue to purchase. But they're still in the community as far as their business commercial, and some of them are not purchasing at this time if they cannot, but that doesn't stop them from moving their business and pouring their business into the community. They will lease the building until they're able to purchase it as well. So yes.
What type of commercial properties are you seeing people acquire, as far as when you say the white people selling and black people purchasing, what type of
Okay.
properties are there and what type of businesses are going into those properties?
Okay, last year, I'm trying to think of a transaction I did. Okay, last year I had a building that was trying to sell on Harford Road. I think they wanted too much. It's like over $1 million property. It was a health center, Baltimore City Health Department. I'm sorry,
Oh, okay.
5610 Harford Road. And they wanted to sell the entire building. I had a client that wanted to purchase the building, but the comps didn't match and it wasn't worth it. But it didn't stop her from building her daycare center in
Okay.
that building. She just leased the property. So,
Okay. Okay.
there were, like, I have a relationship with someone with Alex Cooper. So when the old, what we call them, the old investors, they even auction them off. So they'll give me a list of different properties, commercial properties that they're trying to sell. Some of them are very high. I think that the old investors believe that it's worth more than what it is. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
And I think too that they're not really motivated. They're
they're
sitting on
not.
some change.
Exactly.
So they was
And
like they don't want to get away.
absolutely. And it could have been at that time, but
Right.
it's not now.
Right.
And although they want to sell, there's other people in it with them, and that's another thing. We have to do things together. You know, that when you see this one big building and this one millionaire or this $1 billion business, you don't have to wait till you become a millionaire. You have to have partners.
Right.
You know, you can be that together with a partner, because some of the deals I remember, one party wanted to sell and the other party didn't. So you know, looking on the outside, you think you're not ready, but you have resources. You have more resources now than we had before, and you put it together, you can make it happen. Yeah. So
Okay.
trying to think of other commercial buildings. I looked at one this weekend. There was an Asian family. He's retiring. He said that he's had that building for 30 years. So they're old. They're getting out.
What business did he have in that building? I don't want to
think-
stereotype, but
Yeah.
what was it? was it a corner store?
No,
or,
no.
Okay, or a beauty shop or something. So I don't want to stereotype. That's why I'm asking. As far as the reason why I asked that question is because, you know, you dealing with commercial, and I'm interested to see that, like you say, what was surprising that you mentioned you have some of the white people selling off and the blacks trying to buy. So the reason why I asked that, to see the type of properties that people were trying to acquire, the location, and the type of businesses that were currently existing there, and what are businesses people were trying to put in those buildings.
Well, yeah, I was trying to be careful, and I think that's why I'm talking in circles.
Go ahead, it's okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
We're conscious. So that's kind of the point. The reason why I did that was because of, you know, what type of businesses are leaving the communities and what are coming into the communities. Are they going to benefit the community, or is it going to be because looking at commercial real estate and these developers and what was currently there, when you speak of Asians generally,
But you're right,
You
it
have
was,
the
and
corner
it
store, liquor
warmed
stores
my
and
heart,
stuff or whatever.
Alice. It warmed my heart to know that this is what they did 20, 30 years ago, and today we're in a position to buy our community back.
Right, yeah,
Whether they buy
definitely.
it or not, that
Right,
just
right,
made,
right.
just that warmed my heart, just to know that that's where we are today.
Yeah,
As a community,
and
yes.
and we need that in the community.
Yes.
Buy the buildings and put our businesses in there to
Yes.
benefit the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, you and I went out and looked at a building. I'm not gonna give the address.
Yeah.
But it was a warehouse on the west side.
Okay.
It was a warehouse that was about, what would you say? What was the size of that warehouse?
40,000 square feet.
40,000 square foot warehouse, 3 levels, right?
Yes.
Now, what's interesting about it, it was owned by an Asian man, and it's right in the smack of our neighborhood. And the warehouse has potential for a lot of unique type of businesses that we could put in that warehouse. And these are the things I want our listening audience to be kind of be thinking about, is looking at warehouses in our community and looking at what we can do to buy these warehouses. You know, one of the ideals that I'm saying that happened in Colorado, the minute they passed and legalized marijuana, you could not find a warehouse within 6 months in Colorado. Everybody brought up all the warehouses. They use those for grow houses. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's the only purpose of warehouse, but I'm just giving people that right now, if you really want to talk about building wealth and you really want to begin to understand real estate is about timing and when to enter the market, you know, when to sell at the same time. Now, I'm a proponent, or I'm an advocate who believes that you never sell real estate unless you have to. Now, there's other people out there who play the game. They want to buy to start the market. They want to sell at the top of the market, and I get that. You know, that's basic economics. But for me, I look at real estate for more than just making money. I look at real estate as a means for truly bringing economic transformation. And you don't sell real estate. You just continue to acquire. And you may change how you use it through the peaks and times of the market, but I don't believe in selling it. So I just kind of want to see, with you all both being realtors and being in real estate games, what's your thoughts about selling real estate, based on ebbs and flows that the market dictates?
I'll let ladies first.
Well, that's my profession, so I just like to help people in whatever project that they're in. If they want to purchase real estate, I want to help them purchase real estate. If they want to keep flipping, like when I deal with people, I suggest that you hold on to it, like you said. I don't believe in, because I believe that it's worth more than the extra $20,000 that you're going to get later. But some people have a plan. You never know what their plan is.
Right.
That extra 20 could be to purchase the extra 100 later. They may have a bigger plan, and I don't get into that. But it depends on the individual, I believe. But yes, but I believe if you're going to purchase real estate, and whatever your investment is, I think it should be a big investment. Don't think small. Don't just think like I can make $10,000 if I off of this investment, because you never know how the market is going to change. 3 years later, that $10,000, you're going to wish you kept that property, because that property will be worth $60,000 more later. I don't know. It depends on the individual.
Yeah, and I'm kind of along the same lines. It depends on the individual's end goal. Real estate, definitely, I wouldn't say sell it, go buy your Cadillac, you know what I mean, go waste the money. But at the end of the day, depending on your financial stability, where are you at and where you want to go. Like she was saying, if you have a piece of property, you acquire it, if the market's hot, people do the 1031 exchange. If you got a smaller property, like Monopoly, build up, If you got a few smaller ones, you want to sell it and get something bigger. So it all depends on the individual's long-term goals. So, I mean, in the same token too, if you're just cool with cash flow and collecting payments, then just sit on them and continue to do a slow stack like that. But if you have a goal within the next 5 to 10 years to achieve X amount of dollars in net worth or passive income coming in, if you have a few smaller properties or the market is hot and it's going to enable you to scale your real estate business, sell off 3 or 4 or 5 single family rental properties, and you want to get a 50 unit, multi-unit. So it just all depends, and a numbers game. So depending on your outcome and your goal, what's your long-term goals with the real estate.
Yeah, it's definitely a person by person perspective if they're building wealth. But again, going with a conscious mindset, for me, it's always a higher purpose. And that's why I said, I don't want to sell real estate, because we need to control our communities. We need to have ownership of our communities. I get the fact that if a person has a personal wealth building strategy, and to Ellis's and your point that, you own 4 or 5 residential houses that you're using as rental, and then you decide that you're tired of being a residential rental game and the market's at its height, and you can make $100,000 off each house, and that $500,000 now that you've made can now allows you to buy a bigger building, and you want to do that. I get that can make sense for folks, and I definitely understand that particular strategy. But I just want to stress to our listening audience that you want to get into real estate, and you want to really. One of the things I think a lot of people who get into real estate don't understand is economics. They get into real estate and they go join some RIA, and they learn real estate from somebody who teaches them one particular strategy, one particular way of looking at things, like whether it's wholesaling or whether it's renovation, or people use the term flip. I don't like the term flip. I say resale, and that's all the person knows. So everything they look at is within this Mayo system of 70% loan to value ratio, after repair value ratio, and that's what helps to make a deal or not. And what they're missing out on is understanding what creates the conditions that determines value overall. See, my thing is, if you understand economics, then you can go ahead and, particularly in areas like Baltimore City where there's so much blight and you can buy blocks of properties in the inner city, then you can begin to create the market yourself. And that to me is really how you really build long-term wealth in 10 years. You can make some money by following along under the other markets, but I'm talking about building wealth and generational wealth, so that you can not only have money for yourself individually, but you have money for your kids. You can pass things down. And you look at anyone who's really financially successful in America, they own real estate, and they don't sell real estate. We talk about the current president and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They got their riches through real estate. They actually own real estate here in Baltimore City. They own a lot of affordable housing development projects here in Baltimore City, and they're not selling. So the people who I see who are wealthy don't sell real estate. That's why I've kind of developed that mindset. But I do understand there's a means to an end to get to the point where you're building wealth. You may have to flip a few properties in order to get you to a certain cash flow position that you can buy at whole. But to me, that should always be your long-term goal, is to say, I'm going to sell 5 or 6 houses until I get to a certain capitalization rate of maybe $200,000 liquid. Then I'm going to begin to hold properties, because hold is when you build wealth. If you're just selling properties and you're paying capital gains on it, unless, like you said, unless you're doing a 1031 tax exchange, but other than that, you're paying capital gains on anything you make. So, and most people are not wealthy. When you say a person's a millionaire, they're not a millionaire because they have $1 million in the bank, sitting there in the bank account. That's really, a person who's doing that is really wasting their money. They're a millionaire because of the assets they have and the value of those assets. So anyone who's listening, if you got $1 million sitting in a bank account, a savings account, earning 0.2%, 0.5% interest, then you definitely got some financial stewardship issues when it comes to money. Money should be working for you. Money should be out on the street generating your wealth. That's what the banks do. You put your money in a savings account, the bank gives you 0.75% interest on it, and then they lend your money out to other people for anywhere from 12% to 15% to 20%, depending on the person's credit and challenges. They're making money off your money because they understand the money game. And that, to me, is where our community, we don't take our efforts and time in learning the money game. We only talk about money from a lack of it. But I don't want to get into that soapbox. I want to talk about some actual real estate deals. So going back to that warehouse I was talking about before. Now, what were your thoughts about that warehouse, Carla?
Okay, I saw great potential in the warehouse. I think it was, it was three levels, three levels. There were 3 separate entrances, so I can see it like a mixed unit future, a mixed unit building. With I don't know what the buyer's plans were, but I can definitely see, more than 5 businesses in that building, in that one building. There were bays on one, and there were different entrances. There were bays on one entrance, parking on another entrance. Then there was another parking on another side of the street, and it was huge. I think they had already 3 businesses in there, but there were stairways that on other floors that there can make other businesses as well. I think if whoever decides to purchase that business, they would definitely be investing in the community. They can make a lot of businesses that would benefit the community. I don't know their plan. We were just taking King and I were just taking a look at it, but yeah, I think that would be a start if that's the goal. I don't know, but yeah, I saw great potential in that building. I don't know the plan, but I could definitely see great potential in that building. Whether it's a state building, I don't know what the plan was. I really can't speak on it, but it was a nice building. The setup was nice, and it was nice. Can't speak on
and
it
see,
'cause I don't really know.
now DJ Rock, that warehouse didn't require the kind of heavy lifting that this warehouse that we currently operating out of. You know, this is a warehouse that 40,000 square foot warehouse. We can get it for far less than trying to acquire this big mammoth of a building in, and then the uses of it could definitely benefit and have a greater impact on the vision. So it's the kind of warehouse that I actually like to actually look at.
So with that being said, is that something that you're trying to put in the works, or you still teasing me with breakfast again this morning?
Well, no. To call his point, one of our partners in the Conscious Roundtable movement, that's her warehouse, which is why I'm not giving her address out. That's gonna be her deal that she's gonna work on. We're gonna help support her in acquiring it. Yeah, so we definitely gonna move forth on it. But I just want to share with our listening audience: think warehouses. When you drive through the city, look at warehouses. Look at and then start asking yourself, how can I buy that warehouse? What can I do with that warehouse? And then that begins the thought process.
Hey, King, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Now, we always talk about my thought process then and my thought process now being after, I became partners. Here's my question. If we want to change our communities, if we want to make a difference in our communities, why wouldn't we want to obtain the property, become landlords, rent the property out to generate the revenue? That's revenue we could put back into our bigger projects. So why wouldn't we want to buy the properties and flip them to get the revenue?
Well, again, two things in there. I just want to go with naming convention that we want to work on. I don't like the term landlord either and flipping, just because when they created landlord, they did that from a power of egalitarianism when they wanted to say that I'm your lord. We as black people have a problem with the word lord. It does something to us psychologically. So I say property owner, and then I say resell as opposed to flip. So to answer your question, Rock, it goes back to short-term and long-term goals. Now, anybody, so here's a typical path for somebody who's going to get started in real estate investing. Most people getting started in real estate investing not going to really have a lot of money. So the first step you want to do is become what they call a bird dog, which is go out here and you find deals for other people to buy, and then you make anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to help a wholesaler sell a deal for you. And that kind of gets you started in real estate. And it's a great way to get started because you don't have money, you got a lot of time, and the goal is you need to learn the real estate market. You got to learn the game of real estate. And being a bird dog, it helps you begin to identify properties, identify opportunities, and it gets you to the point where you begin to put your ears and eyes and get you a system built up so you can begin to look at deals, look at properties, and build you a database of investors to sell those properties to. So that's kind of usually the first entry fee or entry step into the real estate game for most people. Then the second step is to become that wholesaler. So now the wholesalers usually buy those properties from those bird doggers. And and let you all know, listening audience, you can tell typically a bird dogger is that person who's put those signs up that says, we buy houses, we can buy houses cash in 7 days, etc. 9 times out of 10, the person who's hanging that sign is not going to be the person that buy that house. That's a person that's looking for deals to come into them. They're going to negotiate, or maybe just passing on to the wholesaler who would negotiate a deal, and then they're going to sell it to the person who's going to be the third level, which is the renovation and resale person, or some people like to say flipper, who's going to buy the house, renovate it, and then sell it. So that's the third level. So again, first step, bird dogger. Second step, wholesaler. And then the third step is when you get to the purchase and renovate and resell, which is your point, Rock, where we could buy houses, fix them up, sell them. And that's a good way of generating some revenue. But again, that should always be a short-term type of model. You shouldn't do that for no more than 18 months. Do about 3 or 4 deals. Have a certain amount of money that you want to make from that, so you can use that money, which is to get to the fourth step, which is to be the property owner, where you're buying and you're holding, and then you're using those properties to generate your revenue by either renting those properties out. Now, me personally, because I'm about helping our community change, I don't want to just be a landlord or a property owner. I want to help other people get into property, particularly as it relates to residential property. So we do a rent-to-own program because I want to sell all of my residential portfolio because I want to create home ownership opportunities. But now that we have Carla, and this is where we're in Carla now talking about, the next level after being a property owner from a residential standpoint is to graduate into becoming a property owner as it relates to commercial property. And then now for that's what I say that you buy and hold and you never sell. And then you can then be a property owner and you rent out to businesses, and that becomes a completely different game. Now, if you follow that pipeline that I just outlined, that process I just outlaid, then you learn in real estate and you learn at different levels of it all along the way. You want to get mentors, you want to get coaches, you want to do a lot of studying so you get familiar, because each progression of that process requires more competence, requires more money, and requires more strategy and resources. But if you follow that game along, that's how you really begin to build wealth. And DJ Rock, so to answer your question, that's a long answer. That's the process that I suggest that people follow.
You know, real estate has become inspirational and discouraging after meeting you, man. It's like on one hand, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially with the 3 properties that I have. But then it's discouraging because what I thought was an overnight process, I'm learning that nothing is going to happen within 24, 48 hours. So it becomes discouraging. And I guess that more people, or the ordinary Joe like myself, I should say, should sit down and talk to people such as yourself and understand the process before they get knee deep in it and they just got money sitting there, you know?
Well, see, the issue with real estate started really when Carlton Sheets came out. You all remember Carlton Sheets?
Not really.
You remember
Yeah.
Carlton Sheets?
My mom bought it.
I bought it too, and they helped get, and he had some good information in his courses. But he was one of the first people that took creating a real estate package and selling real estate training and some form of curriculum to people on a mass scale, saying that if you buy my system, here's how you can get started in real estate investing. And even though he wasn't really promoting a get-rich-quick scheme, a lot of people took his model and started trying to tell people in a just get-rich-quick scheme. And that's where real estate got inundated. Real estate investing got inundated with folks who decided to try to sell these schemes. And they broke the rules of business. Because, and this is what we advocate within the roundtable, if you approach real estate as a business, then it takes away all this trying to get rich overnight and this scheme. But see, real estate has been changed by people who tell you, well, if you pay my course for $10,000, because, you can set the course for any price you want, as long as somebody's willing to buy it. And then you tell the person, I got the secrets to selling you how you can make $60,000 in 6 weeks. Now, mind you, in any business that you start, they tell you, you go to business schools, that it takes you 5 years before your business becomes profitable. And I always ask people this, why would real estate be the exception to that rule? Why would real estate be the only thing that you cannot have any knowledge of, any experience at all, and because you have credit and you can go buy a house, you're going to be able to buy that house and instantly make money, even though you don't know anything about economics, you don't know anything about real estate, you know anything about how to go about what causes real estate to go up in value, or what causes real estate to decline in value. You don't understand the players in the game, what an appraiser is. You don't understand what a full pity payment is, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. All these things people don't know, but they think that because they take a 6-week crash course, they now can begin to just make all this money in real estate because someone in a suit, flashing sporty jewelry, and driving nice cars can tell you that they did it, and you can do it as well. So that's the problem with real estate. It gives you that false impression and belief, and people lose the sight that it is a business, and just like a business, it takes you time to learn the game, You have to build up confidence. You have to get experience. You gotta learn. Like for example, Ellis, how long you been in real estate?
It's going on 3.5, going on to 4
For what?
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say you're still learning?
Yeah, every day. Definitely. Always learning.
And how much money would you say you've invested in learning this in the last 4 years?
Shit, at least 50 grand.
Did that DJ Rock? Say that again,
I
Ellis?
hear him.
At least 50 grand.
50 grand in 4 years, right? So now, how much money would you say that you probably lost in real estate and doing some transactions?
Actually, you know what? Knock on wood. I'm probably less than a couple thousand, maybe.
Right. And see, now I can guesstimate that that's because you spent the money in education,
Right.
right? So that's the thing about real estate. You're gonna lose money one way or the other.
Yeah, you're gonna pay one way or the other.
Right. You're gonna. You're right. Not lose money, but you're gonna pay one way or the other. Either you're gonna pay in education and mentorship, or you're gonna pay because of lack of knowledge, and you're gonna lose money on deals.
Right.
But that's you're not getting around that, right? Now I've
Right.
been in real estate since '98, and I would say I easily have invested over $150,000 in real estate and continue to spend money in real estate education courses. I'm going to New Orleans next month for some real estate training as well. It never stops. You know, I'm consider myself very competent in real estate, but it's still so much more to learn.
I wanted to speak back on what he said about the landlord and buying.
By all means.
Yeah, there's a program. I don't want to promote the program because I would like to see a group of L community doing the same thing. It's a program that I'm affiliated with. What they do is buy. You know how you said there are signs that say we buy this, be that we buy your property, whatever. What they do, they associate with real estate agents, and what they do is they buy the property for them. It's a group of investors, and they're not just buying properties. They wait until the agent find the property. They put together and purchase this property for them. So it helps the person that cannot purchase for whatever reason. They may not be creditworthy, or they just may not have the financial means to do it at that time. But what it does is it motivates the buyer because they put them in a lease short term, like 5 years. So what it does is the rent increases each year within the 5 years. So that would motivate you there, because the price value will go up maybe another $7,000 or whatever. So that motivates you to purchase. So I was thinking of just a team to keep the people purchasing in the community. You know, if they want to purchase a home in the community, we, not you and I, but we as a community or a team could build this same partnership, you know, and help the people purchase in their community.
So for clarification, so you have a group of like 10 investors that's working with real estate agents. So they purchase
Whatever house.
move-in ready houses for
Yes.
individuals that lack the credit worthiness to get a traditional loan,
Yes.
and they put them on like a 5-year
To
and
plan.
rent or investor-owned
Yes.
program, and then so one. Okay, got you. So
and they feel good because they purchased this home for you. Now your
Right.
obligation is to purchase it back.
okay.
But no one likes to move. You know, they feel like they have this house. Their name is on the deed, but you don't own the house until you pay me off. So,
Got you.
because people will say, I've watched my aunt. Like I said, I'm a real estate agent. I watch my aunt every year. I'm going to buy a house next year. You can have that plan, but until something is motivating you to do it,
right.
she can say it for 10 years that she's going to get a house. But if you're in this program and you know you're committed, you know.
Right. You
Yeah.
see that 5 years, your
Yeah.
rent keep going up,
Yeah.
and you already. So they actually put them on the deed, and the investors, they basically become the bank. So Investor Angel LLC is the lien holder, first position, but they put the actual occupant, the tenant, or the individual that's supposed to acquire it, they're on the deed. And so the investors are basically holding the note.
Holding a note.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
It works for me as a real estate agent because if I do have someone that wants to purchase, refer them to my lender and they can't purchase, that's the second option. But
Mm-hmm.
I've watched the person buy that house in less than 2 years because they're excited. They're looking forward to it because to them, this is their house. They just
Right.
got to get it back from this person.
Right.
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
commitment.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl, I have a question. Let's put a spin on this same program and let's see if it works. What if you already own the property and you wanna you wanna do some work to the house because you want to possibly rent it out? Would those same investors be willing to help someone?
I don't know about that, but I do have information about renovation. There's a lot of programs, lending programs that would that can assist you. But I'm just speaking of. I think when you said landlord, and trying to get people to purchase in their community, and people are scared. They believe that they can't. But this is a way to show them that you can, you know.
And I guess to DJ Rock's question, primarily what I get from what you're saying is that those programs and investors you work with is primarily for owner occupant, not to be a landlord. So they don't want to put money in your pocket, turn around and take somebody else's money.
I got you. I'm just saying. Hey, Alice, I'm always fishing.
and then they're not putting you in their property. That's the selling point. They're giving you what you want.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But again, to keep it in the community, it has to be in a certain area where you're going to purchase in.
Gotcha.
It has to meet the certain area criteria.
Okay.
So if we're investing into West Baltimore, if you go and we just tell them the criteria is to get in this program, you got to purchase in this zip, whatever area we're investing in, they'll do it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
okay.
nothing personal to you too, but I normally don't like realtors. You know,
Okay.
He don't like himself because he was one too.
realtors get in the way of investment deals. That's why I said. Now, I guess why
You
I
think
say
so?
you two could be the exceptions to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you will be. I know Ellis is. That's why I can work with Ellis. But I do a lot of creative financing strategies. Like, you know, for me, you get me in front of an owner, and an owner and I can work out any deal we can to make a deal work. Like he's saying, I might need 10 grand down, but I got a car that's not doing anything for me. I might be able to say, okay, I'll give you my car in consideration for that payment, right? And the realtor's not going to be able to convey that. You know, now again,
But you could just have me on the side, the witness.
well, see, that's what I'm saying. See, I believe you'd be different.
Legally go down.
We definitely
Yeah.
could build. But I would be personally opposed to building with a group of realtors. Again, unless there are exceptions to that. But let me say this. There's a group out of Boston that have come and got an exception to Maryland's law where they're able to actually buy houses that are in foreclosure. They buy the house from the homeowner, and because they have a lending institution with them, they buy the house, do like a short sale process, get the house for about 67% of its value, and then they do a new loan the same day with the existing owner, and the owner stays in their house.
That's a good thing too.
And so I just found out this from my partner of mine who's a settlement attorney, and I said I'm gonna look into creating that. And she told me what the loophole they were able to do is because the only way they were able to get around that is because they have a lending institution. So you have to have a approved lending institution that can give a loan, right? But again, it goes back to, just be honest, white boys make rules to fit their needs. That's the bottom line. You know, you got one rule that says you can't buy, a homeowner can't live in a house that's foreclosed, has to be an arm's length transaction. Then somebody comes along with some money and they change and modify that rule to let folks do that. But just think about that. This organization is going throughout Baltimore City, and they're marketing to folks to get folks who are in foreclosure. You contact them, and they will modify the loan for you, make it affordable, and then they'll share in the equity upgrade down the road. So that's how they generate wealth as well. And so now to your point about pulling together, I like what you said. At the end of the day, I think that whatever folks do, again, I wouldn't put my personal bias out there against realtors. I think anyone out here who's doing something collective, you should look at possibly teaming up. That's the best way to go. Don't be out here by yourself. Is how you really want to approach it. So what you were saying, Carla, with that team of realtors and folks can contact you and be a part of that, by all means, they should look into that. and I want to, share your contact information, go ahead and do that. Actually, let folks get in touch with you on that.
It's Carla Ward. I'm with Real Estate Executives. My contact number is 443-226-7144. Again, Carla Ward, WARD. My contact number is 443-226-7144.
And see, that's the biggest challenge I see that we face as a community is our biggest issue is trust. We don't trust each other, particularly as it relates to business. We trust each other when it comes to social activities, but as it relates to business. For example, let's just take a poll. DJ Rock, how many black people do you do business with on a monthly basis?
And counting yourself?
And count myself.
Maybe 3 consistently.
Now, how many people do you do business with on a monthly basis?
Includes
General.
my bill collectors.
Yeah, including all your bill collectors.
About 15.
All right.
And that's personal and business.
How about you, Ellis? How many black people do you do business with on a regular basis? On a monthly basis?
It's probably 5 or less, and the percentage of overall, that's probably only like maybe 20%. So,
Okay.
You know.
How about you, Carl? How many black businesses do you do business with on a monthly basis?
Monthly. I would say about 8.
By 8 businesses?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty high. Okay.
Yeah.
And how many people you do business with overall, including your bills? When I say that, I mean like if you're paying
I have a lot of
T-Mobile,
bills,
you're
no.
paying your car, yeah, all that.
More than 8. More than 8. Definitely more than 8.
Right, and see,
Yeah.
that's the real conversation we really got to have as a community, is that we can't afford to just talk about supporting black businesses. We actually got to put a plan together to actually do that. Now, by the same token, I'm not advocating, and I'm not one of those folks who advocate just do business with somebody because they're black. We got to stop that narrative right there, because I've done that, and I've been burned. And I'm sure all of us can talk about how we've been burned by folks who are black, who are in business, who wasn't professional, who wasn't ethical, and took advantage of us. We got to hold the businesses that we do business with to a higher standard. Like, I would do business with a business if it's black, but they have to be able to show me where they also are doing business with other black businesses, and or they're hiring folks from in the community. I want to see how my money is impacting the community. I'm not interested in just helping somebody because they're black and then they take all the money out of the community and they got a nice plush lifestyle outside the suburbs. So I think that's one of the first things we got to do. So we talk about collectively buying real estate. Let's go back to the warehouse example. The warehouse is selling for $1 million. Now, we know it's not worth $1 million. We know this person's overly pricing, but let's just say we had to buy it for $1 million. Now, how many people will be turned off by that? The fact that it's $1 million, I can't buy that warehouse. And see, I would share with folks that my experience is that it's actually easier, believe it or not, it's easier to buy $1 million building than it is to buy a building, for $200,000. You all believe that? You believe that, DJ Rock? Anybody disagree with that?
I believe it. It just don't sound plausible, though.
Enlighten. Tell us why.
Well, now again, this could be my experience, and you speak on yours. Obviously, I hope you do. That the market for $1 million building is not that much. It's a very small market from my experience. So you got folks who. So my point is this: most people can't afford $1 million building. The majority of the people. So a $250,000 building, that's a large market pool to choose from. Folks can afford that building. Now, the person who can afford $1 million building is usually looking to spend more than $1 million on that building, like $5, $10 million. So they're not in that game. So it's a very small pool of people who can actually, who will look to buy $1 million building. So he has a very small pool to choose from. Mm-hmm. And because of that, that person who's the owner, particularly if it's probably been on the market for a minute, they're going to be much more flexible, and you can make better deals. Again, going with creative financing, right?
I agree.
So that's been my experience. So now you take $1 million building that's probably been on the market for at least 2 years. That person has had an opportunity to really test the market and find out that it's not a lot of interest, particularly if it's in our communities where you still got a lot of crime and a lot of violence and drugs. Then you can be very creative with what you offer that person.
Absolutely. Because if you let that one go, it might be 3 more years that someone else may be interested in it.
Exactly. Because, see, it's going to take, and see, here's the reality. if you looking to sell to, now the only person he probably gonna sell that building to is gonna be pretty much another foreign individual, right? That he got to find that's from outside the country, who doesn't know Baltimore City, who's naive, and he can take advantage of them, right? Come in, buy this building, sell them on a pipe dream, and he probably can find that fool, but it's gonna take some time. I don't mean fool, I'm just mean a person ignorant to Baltimore City. Let me say it that way. Or it's gonna have to be somebody somebody's white, right? Now, if somebody's white that's gonna buy, they're gonna come in a whole different plan. They're gonna want to buy the building and buy the whole block and have a different strategy. So they're not gonna just want to buy that one building and sit by themselves in an isolated area. That's not, from my experience, how they operate.
And I'm thinking about what me and Alice said about the old investors. He may think that it's worth $1 million because of what he made, what he put into it. But today, what he doesn't realize that you have to put at least another $1 million back in it. He's just thinking of $1 million when he had it up and operating. This is an old building now, and it may need another $1 million. I'm just saying, in there to operate it. So no, your building is not worth $2 million. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that emotional
Yeah,
attachment.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, that's the kind of person I would come in and use a lease option strategy where I would say, to me, that building we saw, I see really about maybe between 5 and 650 tops.
But you can still do that without Xing out your real estate agent. I hate when people say that. You said you can still give them your call without Xing out your real estate agent.
Well, see,
Because you all don't pay us. So that's why we're just here to protect you and make sure everything is.
But no,
It's
see, you're
going
an
there.
investor agent. See, that's what I'm saying. You're an exception to the rules, so I can have this kind of conversation with you. But see, my point is, other realtors were getting away. Like his realtor were getting away and be looking at what's my commission out of it. And I don't want to present. I know a real estate agent by law has to present every single offer, but if they don't present offers with energy and enthusiasm, then the owner may not accept it. So that's why I say that. Again, now I say there are certain exceptions to the rule. As Ellis pointed out, I used to be a realtor, but I was a person who became a realtor only so I can get access to the MRS. I never
Get your
became a
own
realtor
properties.
to go out here and help owners, home buyers find properties. I don't have the patience for that. You said we got a caller on the line. Great morning, caller. Welcome to the Conscious Capitalist Show. Who are we speaking with?
Good morning, King. Good morning, Ellis. It's Marlene. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Well, yeah, let's say good morning to Marlene, to our guests as well. We have callers sitting here.
Hello, Marlene.
Yes. Good morning, Carla. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks for calling.
So did my comment about realtors get you to spark you to make a call this morning, Marlene?
King, I was going to call anyway, but now you gave me another topic to talk about. But I'm hoping I'm the third realtor that you like.
No, come on. Welcome to the show, Marlene. I'm just joking with you. How you doing this morning?
I know. You're always joking with me. I'm doing pretty good. I like the topic that you guys are talking about. As a person who has moved to Baltimore, been here for about 15 years, I, like Carla, just love Baltimore City and just the possibilities that it has. When you drive up and down the streets of Baltimore City, yes, there is dilapidation, yes, there are abandoned buildings, but the possibilities are endless as to what it can become. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I've seen transformation to levels that are beyond my mind happen there and also in D.C. And it's just a matter of time that Baltimore, turns out the same way. But talking about commercial properties and things of that nature, King, I didn't know if Ellis had mentioned to you that the property we had looked at 1500 West Baltimore has recently come off the market. So I didn't know if you were aware of that and if we were going to go ahead and move forward with, with that possibility.
You said it has recently come off the market?
Yes, that West Baltimore property.
No, I wasn't aware of that. Thanks for ruining my day there, Marlene. I just looked at it. I just looked at it yesterday.
Because,
2
to your
days ago,
point
actually.
earlier, realtors get in the way. So.
Well, we can always call the agent and find out whether they accept multiple offers before they make a commitment to the other one.
And I think she's telling you that because it hasn't been sold. So it was
Right, it hasn't been
withdrawn,
sold.
not sold.
Not off the market because it's sold. Off the market as in no longer marketing for sale. so it might be, open to.
So now you can go direct to the horse's mouth and do your thing.
Yeah.
We you know what's funny though? This shows you how the creator works and the energy works, and so all of you all get a kick out of this. So I ran into a gentleman yesterday that came by my house that I hadn't seen in a while, and we all know him. I'm not gonna put him on blast on the radio, but we all know him, and he just telling me that it's a building that he left downtown Culture Arts Center. So now you can figure out who I'm talking about. And he said that, can I have a new building I'm working out of? And I said, what building is that? It's 1500 West Baltimore Street. Right? So this is just yesterday. Literally. This is just yesterday that he told me this. Because it's a woman over there who actually runs a yoga studio that has control over the building. So he was telling me they're having an open house on the 12th of July to, kind of promote the open house. So Ronaldine, thank you for calling and saying that, because I was actually going to follow up with you to try to connect with the gentleman, because I was ready to move forth with that. But I said that's my building because it keeps coming back to me one way or the other.
Small world.
Because it's meant to be, King. It's meant to be.
It is meant to be. And we're going to take down that building. We're going to work out something collaboratively on that. But, that's a great point.
Between you and these three realtors.
Well, see, okay, so I'm going to modify my statement I made earlier, because you all are giving me the exception to the rule. That only work with conscious realtors. I only work with conscious realtors.
Okay.
Conscious realtors are good realtors.
And realtors that get it. How about that? Realtors that get it.
And to that point, realtors, and this is why I do want to say this in all sincerity, that, to our listening audience, that when you get into real estate investing and you begin to really build out your real estate investment team, realtors are going to be a vital part of that. Now, when I would say I hate dealing with realtors, I was actually referring to the realtors who actually list the properties that get in my way, not realtors who actually I work with, who can help me negotiate deals and help me understand the value of properties and run comps. You need realtors in order to help you understand market conditions and what's really going on, because this is what they do. So let me make sure I really begin to put that out and say that with that caveat. I was just referring to a realtor who has a property listed, and then I call with my non-traditional way of being able to buy property. If they're not familiar with it, they can get in the way, and I always prefer to talk directly to the property owner. But you need realtors to be a part of your real estate investment team if you're going to get into real estate, because without them, you don't know really what's the property value. I'll give you an example. I was sitting down and talking to someone else the other day who was an investor who doesn't have realtors, and he was telling me about, well, the comps in this area are $150,000. And I was saying, well, how do you know that? And he was trying to show me some listings on a couple of these new internet sites like Zillow or Redfin or what have you. And I said, well, unless you can really get the realtor listing and see was there any subsidy paid, because of the subsidy meaning that the owner was willing to help out the buyer with closing costs. So again, the houses may be selling for $150, but the average subsidy that the owners are helping the buyers with is anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. Then really the houses are selling for $135, and you really can't get that. You realtors can correct me if I'm wrong, without getting the full realtor listing.
Yeah, typically the subsidy or the seller subsidy is not listed on. They generally don't have that on Zillow or those websites.
And sometimes Zillow does have active listings. I'm not just taking away from Zillow, because it's a good tool for people that's just searching, but it's actually designed as a marketing tool. Sometimes they've gotten better, but they may have expired listings, and on the side it'll have like 3 agents on the side. So when you contact, and it's like you could contact me and they'll say, oh yeah, it's expired, however I can show you something similar.
Right.
So because they tried to get me to be on Zillow, as this is an advertising thing, but
Yeah,
they do
premier
have active listings, but a lot of them are expired, but it'll have agents on the side as a marketing tool. So when you find out that it's expired, and that's your pitch. Oh, well, I can show you another one in that same area with the same thing, and then that's your sale. So yeah, that's like a way for agents to generate leads.
Absolutely. Well, since I have you three realtors on the line, Marlene, you still on the line with us?
I am, and I just want to say, King, I love the way you cleaned that up.
All right, well, thank you. Well, here's a key question I want to ask you all as realtors, because you all are part of this real estate system that we're dealing with. Now, as you all know, that black home ownership is at the same record low it was when they passed the Fair Housing Act back in 1968 that allowed that you could not discriminate in housing anymore. Home ownership for blacks has not improved since then. And now that, let me be more specific as it relates to Baltimore City, a study came out and said that less than 40% of blacks own homes in Baltimore City, which is as far as home ownership, not landlord property ownership, but home ownership. So now with that being said, I wanted to get and kind of go around each realtor and ask, what are you all thoughts as far as how do we increase home ownership interest in Baltimore City?